Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of FEAI for Ethical AI. I'm delighted to have with me today Chandresh Sharma from Nimble S2P. Chandresh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Please tell me, what does S2P stand for?
So S2P is primarily source to pay. Nimble being more onto sourcing, source to payment side of it. That's why we came up with this particular abbreviation, S2P. So primary agenda is that only.
But what exactly does Nimble S2P do?
So primarily we are more into supply chain. The category, broad category is supply chain automation, but inside that itself, if you look at it, we are more focused on the finance side of it. When we say finance automation, then from that perspective, it would start with anywhere from supplier relationship management perspective. So as soon as an organization buyer releases a purchase order to them, our Nimble S2P platform comes into picture.
Tell me a little bit more of what Nimble S2P does.
So primarily Nimble S2P is more on the way we define it is it is connect, automate and maximize, more on the supplier relationship side of it for the buyers, and that's what primarily focus is. We focus on more of a proactive compliances, and that's where Nimble S2P comes into play, where it connects a supplier and buyer together onto the same platform. A supplier might be interacting with multiple buyers, doing business with multiple buyers, but how can we give them a unified experience? That's the primary focus is.
Wow, I wish you were present when we used to deal with vendors all the time, and it was such a frustrating experience, honestly. Correct. So this is fascinating to know. But tell me, I'm very curious to understand, Chandresh. Do you use AI in this whole process?
Okay, so AI not as such. Primarily we are focused more on machine learning. As a principle itself, we define more this as a genuine intelligence rather than an artificial intelligence. There is nothing called artificial as a principle from that perspective. But when we talk about genuine intelligence, that needs a dependency on, everyone talks about LLM, right? Language models and all those kind of things. That's what we are working on right now. We are working on the language models. We are working on how can we ensure that supplier and buyer interaction in terms of support, follow-ups, what happened to this, what happened to that, how can that be, reduced to, almost 0% or maybe 4 or 5%. Right now, everything is on email, phones, to various stakeholders. So that is what we are focusing on. And that's where genuine intelligence definitely can, take a very good role, because it can ensure that when supplier is trying to transact with the buyer on their ERP platform, system can proactively tell you that, okay, what is not working, why will your invoice get rejected. So I think that's the prima facie, where if you can tell somebody that proactively that, okay, this is not going to work, then that will smoothen the relationship to a great extent.
I need to understand a little bit more, and maybe my viewers too. What do you mean by genuine intelligence?
So when I say genuine intelligence, India has moved to in terms of GST, if you look at it, right? Currently we are post audit, which means that you raise an invoice and after that you deposit GST to the government, right? But if you look at the European countries and all that, those are pre-audit. Now this is where a lot of things will come into play. India being post audit, if I can tell you that, okay, this guy hasn't, at the time of transaction itself, if I can stop him to upload the invoice because his GST is inactive, or the last 2 returns have not been filed on time, or input credit has not been realized to the buyer account, that's precisely what we are looking at. So that's genuine intelligence, where we are saying that there's nothing artificial about it. Basically, your behavior in past transactions with the buyer is being leveraged, and not only one buyer. Now that's where SaaS comes into play. And when we say SaaS, enterprise SaaS versus a normal SaaS is totally a different ballgame altogether. A vendor's behavior with you, me as a different buyer, if that can be collaborated together and then intelligence output can be given to the supplier, that would help him a lot.
I just feel like if I were a vendor, my behavior is being scrutinized right to the minutest of thing that I do.
No, we are just trying to avoid your questions which you might ask a buyer.
Right. So how does ethics come in over here? Because I'm seeing a lot of, for me it would be concerning to know that everything is being looked at from a behavioral angle.
Correct.
So how do you look at ethics over here?
So when you say behavioral, yes, it is transactional behavior, but at the same time, how we would look at it is, there are three different pillars to it, right? You have a compliance, you have governance, and then you have ethics. Compliance being more proactive becomes a driver to make sure that you have a proper governance in place. And governance, end of the day, leads to the ethics. To be very frank, today in Mumbai, you have those speed cameras, right? As soon as you see the speed cameras, you know you are being watched. Automatically, your speed is in control. Precisely, that is what all about governance, compliance, and ethics are about. So we do the similar thing. We make sure that we do a proactive compliance rather than reactive compliance.
So you need to be watched to watch that you do the right thing under somebody's watch.
We're just giving you a motivation to be ethical in a different way. Obviously.
And what if you were to remove this motivation away to be ethical? What do you think can go wrong?
Okay, if we talk about in financial angles, most of the organizations have been facing GST input credit loss of anywhere between 1.5% to 5% depending on different organizations. But not being ethical on the vendor side of it can lead to many other things, which buyer as a CPO, Chief Procurement Officer, and CFO, they come directly under that particular ambit, and for them it becomes, they become answerable to a lot of other things. It can be a duplicate payment, it can be other delay penalties, quality deductions. There are a lot of things happens in a day-to-day transaction from a supplier perspective. Not only material, right, service, there are non-PO transaction, logistics, custom duty. There are many aspects to the financial automation side of it, which we try to make sure that, okay, a vendor who's into multiple flavors of business can, make sure that, okay, he's always compliant, and being compliant, we make sure that, okay, he's ethical.
I pick up on that one sentence that you said, that we motivate people to be ethical or to be compliant, and that I think is also underlying the objective of FEAI for Ethical AI, the community of think tanks.
Correct.
So we do see, that being the goal, that people become more and more aware. Anything else that you think we should be doing as a community think tank to take up this cause further?
So as a community, I think so. From a business perspective, when we look at it, right, lot of automations, a lot of initiatives have been taken more on the internal controls, while you keep external parties outside of that ambit. The kind of money which you invest in that, the similar kind of money and the similar kind of approach can be taken with external parties who are part of your entire, business community. That would make more sense. Because keeping that party outside will always, you will have an ethical as a question mark, or at least an exclamation mark. So from that perspective, I think so, more and more inclusive tech platforms, or I would say that enterprise SaaS side of it rather, right? Normal SaaS is something like, I go to a website, I say, create my account, I want to use this feature. Enterprise SaaS is not like that. Enterprise SaaS is more and more integrated with your HRMS system, your CRM systems, your ERP systems. It is more inclusive, and it makes your third parties, whether it is supplier or a customer, part of that.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me. And viewers, I leave you with the question, what kind of motivation do you need to be ethical or compliant? Thank you so much.